نحمده ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله. Dear Honorable His Eminence Hazrat Qibla Peer Sahib, Hazrat Mufti Sahib and Ulama Ikram and the host of this beautiful event, Sheikh Ghulam Rabbani Rabbani Sahib, with their elders, brothers, mothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the brief time that I have, I want to first of all mention that there is a misunderstanding and a misconception that many young people are being brainwashed about, that every non-Muslim is against us and we can have no friendship or any type of engagement with non-Muslims at any level, especially at a political level. And before you heard the Right Honourable Kate Green, who is representing our community within this ward, where she spoke about how this community is dear to her and she would try her utmost best to speak about the issues affecting this Muslim community, especially the honor of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, and about the misunderstanding and the misportrayal of the concept of jihad in Islam in the media. So I just want to mention to you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already told us in the Holy Quran that from amongst the people of the book and from amongst the non-Muslims, there are some people that are trustworthy. There are some people that are trustworthy, and there are some people that are pious people, they are righteous people, and they are God-fearing people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Holy Quran for us to understand that living in a multicultural society, living in a society where you have different communities, that you have to engage with one another. You have to tolerate one another. You have to cooperate with one another. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. You have to cooperate with one another in good and righteousness. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا. And do not cooperate in what is sin and transgression. So from amongst the people of book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are those that are trustworthy as well. So that's the first misconception that we need to take out of our minds, that every non-Muslim is against the Muslims. No, they are not. Not every non-Muslim is against the Muslims. And the second misconception that people may have, and a lot of non-Muslims have in their mind, is that Islam is against freedom of expression or Islam is against freedom of speech. Islam does not forbid freedom of expression or freedom of speech. We find many instances within the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the seerah of the Khulafa, and even the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has encouraged us to say good words. وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. And say good words that are kind words. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. That say good words, say right words, but fear Allah. But Islam does limit. Islam doesn't say whatever you like about anyone, but it limits it, that you shouldn't use profanity or obscene language. You shouldn't insult people. You shouldn't insult other people's religions. وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. That do not even curse or swear at the gods of other people, at the deities of other people. Do not swear at them, do not insult them. Why? Because in return they will insult your God. They will insult Allah in return. So do not insult other people, but say good words. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. Speak to people kindly. So wherever you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about saying something, there is always a limit, that do not insult someone. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا يَسْخَرْ قَوْمٌ مِّن قَوْمٍ. That a group of you shouldn't mock another group of people. You shouldn't make fun of other people. عَسَىٰ أَن يَكُونُوا خَيْرًا. It might be that they are better than you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تَنَابَزُوا بِالْأَلْقَابِ, that do not call each other by nicknames. Do not insult each other with nicknames. So there is freedom of speech in Islam, but there is the limit. And that's what we request from our MPs and from our government. Yes, you have freedom of speech. It's in the UN Declaration of Human Rights that every individual has the right, and this is true. Every human being, this is a God-given right to every human being, regardless of their gender, regardless of their culture, regardless of their language, regardless of their religion, that they can speak freely, they can say something freely, but there has to be limitations. Laws are put in order to protect society from every type of discrimination, from every type of violence. There should be limitations, and there are limitations in the law. There are limitations, but I don't know why when it comes to religion, people take a step back and they don't put that limitation that you cannot, especially when it comes to Muslims. And this is something that we need to highlight and make the people who are representing us aware of this fact. In 2009, the same magazine that printed the pictures of our Holy Prophet in such a blasphemous manner, that same magazine in 2009, there was an article written by one of the editors, and he wrote something about the president's son, Nicolas Sarkozy's son, the French president's son, in which he said that he has converted to Judaism because he wanted to marry a Jewish woman for money. Now this was against the president's son, and he got sacked for that reason. That same magazine sacked this man. Why? Because he said something against the president's son, and secondly, someone did a case upon him for anti-Semitism. That you spoke out against and you said something against the Jewish religion. So some religions are more honorable in the eyes of people, but when it comes to Islam, people do not care. So this is something that we need to make people aware, the government aware, that our Holy Prophet, our deen is very dear to us. And we are very sensitive to these things. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. That our faith is not complete until we do not love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam more than our parents, more than our family, more than our children, more than anything in this world. Our faith is not complete. So this is a very sensitive issue for the billions of Muslims across the globe. So that's the first thing I want to say, that Islam allows freedom of speech. If you look at freedom of expression, it means that you can express yourself in many different ways, whether in speaking, whether in writing, whether in poetry, whether with art. If you look at Islamic history, Muslims contributed to the world in terms of writing, in terms of literature, in terms of poetry, in terms of art, in terms of calligraphy. They express themselves. So Islam is not against these many forms of expression, but Islam respects other religions, Islam respects other faiths, other cultures, other people. Islam respects them. That's why there is a limit upon freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And the last thing that I want to say is that we as Muslims, we can always play the blame game. We can always say we're good at that. We like blaming others for everything. Because these people have something against Islam, or they're Islamophobic, or they want to be anti-Islamic, they portray our Prophet, they dishonor our Prophet, they dishonor our religion. I'm not saying that there aren't people that do that. There are people who do that. But what I want to say is that we cannot always play the blame game. Some of the blame falls upon ourselves. And that's what we need to look at. Those things that are a problem with us, we need to change. We need to do Islah upon. And I want to give you an example. How have we, there are many ways where we ourselves as Muslims have dishonored the Prophet ﷺ. And you might ask how? How have we dishonored the Prophet? We have. There are many things that the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to do, but we don't do. So that's dishonoring the words of the Prophet ﷺ and the commandments of the Prophet. How many of us actually pray 5 times a day? Our Prophet ﷺ commanded us to pay zakat. Our Prophet ﷺ commanded us to be good to our neighbors. Our Prophet ﷺ commanded us to be respectful to our parents, to our elders. So how have we honored some of the commandments of our Prophet? We've dishonored him if we're not fulfilling the commandments of the Prophet and the prohibitions that the Prophet ﷺ told us to leave, what he forbade us from. مَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ. That leave him. That whatever the Prophet gives, take. Whatever he says, take. And whatever he forbids, leave it. So we have dishonored the Prophet if we are not leaving what he has prohibited. The Holy Prophet ﷺ prohibited us from killing innocent people. If we are carrying out terrorist activities in the name of Islam, in the name of our Holy Prophet, then we've dishonored him. We've dishonored his word. We've dishonored his life. He's a role model for us. He's the perfect role model for us. He has the best character. If we are not following the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his life, we are not following his example, then we are dishonoring his life. As Muslims, we are dishonoring his life. And this is something that we need to do islah upon. We see the rise of, and this is the last point that I want to make, we see the rise of within our own communities. We see the rise of domestic violence. We see the rise of honor killing. We see the rise of forced marriages. We see the rise of pedophilia and sexual exploitation. This is within our communities. So how have we ourselves honored our own Holy Prophet ﷺ? And this is something that I want to share with you so that we take away, me as well as everyone present here, take this away with us, reflect upon it and bring some change within ourselves so we can bring a change within our community. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.